Good day everyone, and welcome to the channel. It is Londononion here with a Back for Blood weapons review, and in this review we're going to be looking at one of the first weapons one is introduced to, the UZI SMG. Now, although the stats and specs of the weapon speak for themselves, I will be giving my evaluation on the weapon's capabilities in combat. This will involve tactics that suit the weapon's strengths, my conclusive opinion, and an overall score. Now, evaluation will take place on 4 main fronts: ammunition economy, crowd control, mutation deterrence, and pressure combat. Before we get started, it is important to note that a weapon's shortcomings can be supplemented with one's card selection, but evaluation will mainly be geared toward the weapon's base attributes. Additionally, one's character choice can make weapons somewhat more forgiving. But, starting us off, the UZI's ammunition economy. Ammunition economy is essentially how long a weapon can practically last throughout a given level. The UZI arguably has the highest fire rate of all weapons, not including, of course, the placeable minigun, and this can be both a positive and a negative depending on one's circumstances. It starts off with a rather decent magazine size of 32 rounds. This is equivalent to approximately 5.5 magazines for each ammo drop one picks up. Now, as should be expected with SMGs, the damage output is low. Most of the pistols in Back for Blood have a higher damage output, shot for shot. In combat, this will naturally translate to a greater expenditure of ammo per zombie and mutation. Additionally, the range for maximum effectiveness is between 6 and 7 meters. Anywhere beyond, and the damage multiplier will begin to recede, which will also create an additional tax on ammo. Now, unless going for weak points or headshots, this effective range can allow one to hit most of their shots with automatic hipfire. When aiming down the sights, the recoil is manageable with automatic fire, requiring slight downward adjustment, though personally, the jitteriness of the UZI's automatic fire mixed with the muzzle flash makes some close-range targets difficult to see and keep track of, which can be dangerous in dire circumstances and increase the chances of user error. Lastly, the UZI's ammo penetration is on the very low side, giving only 1 unit of damage to a subsequent target, which will create a greater tax on one's ammo. The speed at which the UZI fires, effective range, damage output, and ammo penetration means that it will likely require a disciplined user and perhaps supplementation with a balancing secondary. Usually, the use of automatic fire is for the purposes of crowd control, which is what we will get into next. Depending on one's corruption cards and main events in a given stage, crowd control will be more or less an important constituent in one's survival. Higher difficulties will likely create a greater need for effective crowd control. The UZI is a low damage, high fire rate, and magazine capacity weapon with minimal ability for bullet penetration. This essentially means that a given survivor is dealing with 1 Zed at a time. Given the high numbers the ridden can come in, this puts the UZI at somewhat of a disadvantage. The high fire rate is a plus, but the weak damage must be supplemented with greater headshot frequency. Additionally, due to the effective range, crowd control must be performed at close range lest one wastes ammo while maximizing damage output. Part of handling crowds in Back for Blood is also being able to move effectively, as there will be some circumstances that demand a run-and-gun style, while simultaneously taking on a large saturation of ridden. This is where the UZI shines brighter than most other weapons, including most pistols, making the UZI highly effective in putting less offensive demand on the wielder. Sometimes the need for crowd control is due to a lack of effective pressure combat and mutation deterrence, which we will transition to next. Pressure combat, as I coined the term, refers to how efficiently a weapon can eliminate targets in multiple areas, or how well a weapon can complement one's ability to engage and eliminate multiple scatter targets at varying ranges. Now, we had already discussed the weapon's effective range, damage, and control, which will put a significant damper on the weapon's effectiveness outside of 6 to 7 meters. Part of being effective for pressure combat is the intervals of fire one can put down, With this in mind, a saving grace of the UZI SMG is that the reload speed, in my opinion, is on the fast side compared to a fair amount of the other weapons. Mutation deterrence is probably one of the more important aspects of surviving in Back 4 Blood, and I would say there are 2, possibly 3 main strategies weapons can fall into in addressing them. There is kiting, fighting, or a discriminate mix of the 2. Kiting involves tactically retreating from an enemy to put oneself, and their other teammates if they are present, in an advantageous position to eliminate them and also render their attacks less or completely ineffective. Fighting, in this circumstance, moreover, is geared towards, well, fighting fire with fire and eliminating a given target before they can do much damage, if any at all. For the UZI, as we had discussed, its maximum effective range is 6 to 7 meters, meanwhile its minimum effective range is anywhere from 18 meters and beyond. Now, if you ask me, I would consider a range below 10 meters to be the danger zone for all mutations, which is where damage is essentially guaranteed, unless one can use a miracle grenade or flashbang. In the UZI's case, kiting will probably be the user's best interest, but also, due to the damage multipliers, this is likely to be more of a drawn-out process, demanding more ammo and space, but at least its mobility will make this an easier strategy than most other weapons. Now, it is important to note that this is an SMG, and an UZI at that. For anyone that is experienced in shooters, UZIs can be known for being a slightly more dangerous pellet gun, or metaphorically, as the boxer with fast hands and movement, but very little power and mass behind their strikes. Personally, I don't mind the UZI and really appreciate the mobility of the weapon when up against mutations. However, I would say that it fits more of a fast-paced and aggressive style as opposed to the methodical, slow-paced, which is what I personally prefer, and that will not be taking away from its score. Plus, we must keep in mind that Back 4 Blood is a team-based game, and every weapon has its niche, but moving on to the scoring for the UZI. The weapon's ammo economy isn't exactly ideal, and the weapon requires a fair amount of discipline to reduce excessive ammo expenditure. But mag for mag, in its ideal range, the UZI will do more damage on a single target than all of the assault rifles, which counts for something. The UZI's effective crowd control begins at close range, which is already a disadvantage, and without critical shots will create a stressful situation. The main saving grace is the mobility and reload speed, especially during run-and-gun events. Pressure combat and mutation deterrence isn't the UZI's strong suit, but it does have an answer to such circumstances. Its kiting ability is good, but mainly compensatory to its low damage outside of the danger zone. The high reload speed and mobility also have a similar effect in pressure combat due to its low effective range and ammo penetration. Overall, I give this score a solid 10 out of 20. But anyways guys, that concludes the review. Thank you very much for joining me on this one, and I will hopefully see you in the next review, where we will be covering the M1A sniper rifle. It has been Londononion, and I will see you guys next time.